Welcome, Ramley. How are my Rams super fans doing today? Today, the Los Angeles Rams advanced to 2-1 by beating the Arizona Cardinals 20-12. Let's get right into it. Alright guys, so there was a lot of things about this game that I liked and there was some things that I didn't. Let's start off by talking about this offense. Matthew Stafford, for the first time in his NFL career as a member of the Los Angeles Rams, finished the game with 0 touchdowns. But you know, I could really care less about that. Thankfully, he finished the game with 0 interceptions as well. He looked really good, going 18 for 25, 249 yards, and a passer rating of 103.6. I know he didn't score a touchdown, but I mean, he didn't make any mistakes. I always say, I say this every video, guys, if Matthew Stafford is protected, he's gonna play great. And today, Matthew Stafford was protected very nicely. He only got sacked 1 time, despite 5 QB hits. He did a really good job getting rid of the ball. And not only did this offensive line do a great job protecting Matthew Stafford, this offensive line did a really good job opening up holes in the running game, especially in the second half. Cam Akers, I think at halftime, had negative 1 yards on the game. And yet he finished with 61 yards on the ground at 5.1 yards per carry and a touchdown. This was easily the best game Cam Akers played since tearing his Achilles. It's very unfortunate that he fumbled the ball at the end of the game when we were marching down the field ready to put this game on ice. That is something that you can't just look the other way and say, you know, things happen. This is still the same Cam Akers that fumbled the ball twice against the Buccaneers in the playoffs and almost lost that game for us. When we had everything rolling in this game offensively, and he was just getting chunk play after chunk play, and he looked great. Right there, you gotta secure the ball. There's really no excuse for that, but it was very encouraging to this offense, and I think it should be very encouraging to this fan base as a whole that Cam Akers actually looked pretty decent. It's plain as day that this coaching staff wants Cam Akers to be the guy. No matter how many times Darrell Henderson outperforms Cam Akers, the coaching staff still leans on Cam Akers heavy. And I think it's because Sean McVay knows that the potential for Cam Akers is a lot higher than it is for Darrell Henderson. It was very great to see Cam Akers finally have an average, over 4 yards per carry. Hopefully this performance will give him a confidence boost moving forward, and we end up seeing a lot more of this. Now, this game was probably the first time in a very long time where Matthew Stafford really just passed the ball to everybody. He was not locked in on Cooper Kupp. Unfortunately, Cooper Kupp's 90 receiving yards per game streak has come to an end as he finished with only 4 catches for 44 yards. And even though he still led this team with 6 targets, everybody on this offense got targets. Ben Skoranek got 4, Higbee got 4, Kendall Blanton got a target and a very big catch, might I add, going for 28 yards. You know, that was really good to see, knowing that, you know, he was just added to this roster this week. Brandon Powell had 3 catches for 27 yards. Allen Robinson had 5 targets. Darrell Henderson had a target. Tutu Atwell had a target. Matthew Stafford was really passing this around, and it was really good to see. As much as I love to see Cooper Kupp put up these big numbers, I do think the offense is just a little better when everybody's getting some love. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is probably always going to lead this team in targets because he's just simply the best player. He gets open the most. He's very hard to guard, but it's still encouraging to see a more balanced passing attack. That makes it a little more difficult for opposing defenses to scheme up against us. Now, I know I sound really positive while talking about this offense, but please don't get it misunderstood. This offense did not play perfect by a long shot. We started off the first 3 drives we scored on each possession, a touchdown and 2 field goals. One of those field goals should have easily went for 7. We have to do a better job finishing drives. But what was even worse was after those first 3 possessions, we completely stalled on offense. For the rest of the second quarter, we did absolutely nothing. Right after this offense scored on the first 3 possessions, this offense completely stalled out. We had 3 3-and-outs back to back to back. And not only was it 3 3-and-outs, but this was 3 3-and-outs while allowing the Arizona Cardinals to score 3 field goals on their possessions, bringing them right back into the game. And then, you know, luckily the Rams turned it around with their last 2 possessions, going on an 8-play, 75-yard drive to score a touchdown to go up 20-9. And then on their last drive of the game, going on an 8-play, 71-yard drive that should have ended up in a touchdown if not for the Cam Akers fumble. This offense on those last 2 possessions looked really good, and what was most encouraging, like I said earlier, was the fact that they really got that running game going in those last 2 drives, a la Cam Akers. Now let's talk about this defense. Now I don't know about you guys, but it may be just a little hard to critique a defense that gave up 0 touchdowns. But I'm gonna do it anyway. This defense gave up 12 points. This defense also looked phenomenal on 3rd down. The Arizona Cardinals only converted 6 3rd downs out of 18. Unfortunately, they were great on 4th down. They went for 5 4th downs, only failing once. What was the most troubling thing was, why does this defense of the Rams look so soft? And I don't mean soft as in playing style, I mean schematically soft. The defenders are playing 10 yards off of their opposing receivers on every possession. This isn't a case of this team just being bad on defense. This is the defensive scheme that they're in. It's very frustrating as a fan. I'm not ready to kill Raheem Morris for the scheme, because at the end of the day, he played a bend but don't break defense. This defense did not break. This defense did not give up a touchdown. They only gave up 12 points, 4 field goals, and the only reason why they were able to get that is because they had to go for 5 4th downs, which 9 times out of 10, the opposing team is not going to go for 5 4th downs. It's just not going to happen. The Arizona Cardinals this season has proven so far that they're going to go for as many 4th downs as possible. They literally have broken a record. Nobody in NFL history has went for more 4th downs over the first 3 weeks than the Arizona Cardinals since 1991. If we play anybody else in the NFL, nobody is going to go for 5 4th downs. But I still think this bend but don't break defense is very, what's the word I want to use? It's very nerve-wracking and it's very scary to see. Maybe this scheme is only going to be the scheme against a team like the Arizona Cardinals. So maybe it's just, a team that's at a lower level like the Arizona Cardinals. It's like, hey, we'll just give them everything they want underneath. As long as they don't break us for the big play, we'll be good. And even at times when this Arizona team had the ability to get the big play, they, it was just a couple misfires by Kyler Murray. So even when they had the big plays, they couldn't take advantage. Not only did this bend but don't break defense stop them and prevent them from scoring any touchdowns, but it also stopped them and prevented Kyler Murray from running the ball. Anytime we play Kyler Murray, he's always a threat to run the ball. He finished with only 2 carries this game for 8 yards, and we also sacked him and knocked him back 19 yards. The Rams did a phenomenal job defending Kyler Murray. And this Rams defense did a great job defending the run, period. They only gave up 70 yards for an average of 3.3 yards per carry. It was just very hard to see the Arizona Cardinals go on such long drives, even though they didn't result in a lot of points. And I know the bend but don't break defense is designed for that exactly. They're designed for the opposing offense to go on long drives because we're going to give you everything you want underneath. But we're not going to give up the big play, and we're going to bunker down when it comes, closer to the red zone. And that's exactly what happened here. I don't expect the Rams to stay in this type of defense when playing better offenses. But in this case, when the Arizona Cardinals had all their receivers just dismantled with injuries and suspensions, only receiver they really had was Marquise Brown out there and Zach Ertz. So they really didn't have many threats out there. It's like, hey, let's just give them whatever we could give them. This game would have looked a lot better had Cam Akers not fumbled that ball and the offense didn't just completely shut down for those 3 drives in the middle of the game. Gotta speak on this guy. Once again, Jalen Ramsey played phenomenal. I think he did give up a few small catches, but it was more so because he was playing 10 yards off and they were really short catches. But, he's such a great tackler. He stops the play right away. Another great game by Jalen Ramsey. Hopefully he can continue this streak. Aaron Donald got his 100th sack. It was an amazing sack also. Kyler Murray is definitely afraid of that guy. There was another play that I don't know how Kyler Murray wasn't called for intentional grounding when Aaron Donald just burst through the line of scrimmage and he took one look at Aaron Donald and he just threw the ball to absolutely nobody. He didn't get out of the pocket. For some reason, they said an offensive player was in the vicinity when there was no offensive player anywhere around him. It should have been his second sack, but Either way, Aaron Donald played great, constantly doubled and triple teamed. He finished with 6 tackles. He was constantly stopping the run. Another person on his defense I want to point out was Darian Kendrick. Darian Kendrick was getting targeted a lot this game, and I think he played pretty good. You know, he definitely gave up some catches, but you know, he's a rookie in his first start. So what do you expect? But I thought this was great experience for him. I thought he played pretty well, and I thought he did a pretty good job tackling. And overall, just like the rest of this defense, I think he did a really good job of not giving up the big play, giving up a lot of little plays underneath, but nothing major. That was very encouraging, you know, going forward for the rookie, and hopefully he could build on this and continue to progress. Leonard Floyd, once again, refuses to get a sack on the opposing quarterback. He did get a quarterback hit, which was great to see, seeing that he doesn't get many of those, but you know, maybe one day soon he could get a couple sacks. Now let's give out that Rams Superfan game ball. Before I give the game ball out, I do have an honorable mention. Ben Skoranek. Now I feel like nobody has been more critical of Ben Skoranek than I have been over the last year or so. Today he is tied for the lead in receptions with 4 receptions and 66 receiving yards. He also had a long catch of 32 yards. You know, ever since we switched his position to fullback, he's been pretty good. He's been blocking, he's been catching the ball out of the backfield, and it's really nice to see. He didn't drop any passes, catching all 4 of his targets. I know that was a big thing last year, him constantly dropping passes, and every time he seemed to drop a pass, it would always bounce up into a defender's hands. So it was really good to see him do that. Another honorable mention is Cam Akers. He looked really good, especially in that second half. Those last 2 drives, he was just running and running and running. It was 5 yards after 10 yards after 10 yards after 5 yards after 10 yards, and he looked great. Unfortunately, he can't get the game ball because he fumbled the ball right at the goal line, and it would have been the icing on the cake to end this game. So unfortunately, we can't give him the game ball. I'm gonna give the game ball to Matthew Stafford. I know his stats aren't eye-popping because he didn't score any touchdowns, but he was very efficient with the ball. He didn't turn the ball over. He made great throws. It was a couple of throws that were just a tad bit off, where he had Cooper Kupp streaking down the middle of the field. He wanted Cooper Kupp to go right. Cooper Kupp went left. This game could have been a lot bigger than what it was for Matthew Stafford. Either way, he finished the game with a 103.6 passer rating, and this was really good to see. So today the game ball goes to none other than Matthew Stafford. Before I end this video, I just want to talk about some concerns. As much as I hated to see the Rams in this bend but don't break defense, it did work, so I'm not really concerned about it. I know Raheem Morris has the ability to switch up the scheme whenever he sees fit. Last year was evident of that, so I'm not worried about that. The one thing I am worried about is how this offense just kind of died in the middle of the game. 3 possessions and 3 and outs on those possessions right after scoring on their first 3 possessions. It was very weird to see. I don't think this Arizona defense did anything spectacular, but you can't have drives like that. And not even the fact that, okay, we didn't score on 3 possessions, that's gonna happen. But the fact that it was 3 and outs, that we didn't move the ball whatsoever on 3 consecutive possessions against a defense that's pretty mediocre, if not below average, that's something we can't do. That was a little concerning. Luckily, right after that, we turned it around and got it right back going. But going forward, we have to tighten that up. And I know every week is going to get a little better, especially with like Matthew Stafford and Allen Robinson continuously developing chemistry going forward. I think every week will be a little easier. We did see Stafford and Allen Robinson miss on a few passes today. Well, and there were a few passes where it's like, I think if they were together a little longer, those would have been easily connected. And I think that's going to get better over time. Next week, we have the San Francisco 49ers in a big game in prime time. Matthew Stafford tends not to play too well in prime time. I hate to bring that back up, but this is also going to be a defense that's a lot better than this Arizona Cardinals defense. If we do that against that defense, it might not just be 3 possessions, it might be 5. And that's going to really hurt us and put us in a hole where we probably won't be able to come out of. So we have to tighten that up. I'm not overly worried, but that's a minor concern. And speaking of the San Francisco 49ers, please subscribe to this channel and hit that bell notification button so you get alerted as soon as my Rams and 49ers preview video goes live. Thank you guys. In the meantime, click right here for more Rams content.